Hello students, welcome to Notebook. Have you ever grown a plant or raised an animal? Keeping a pet or growing a plant needs time and care. If you have potted plants at home, you will know that they require watering every day and fertilizers once in a while. You have to check that they are getting proper sunlight. If you have a dog, you need to feed him from time to time. You also have to take him out on walks. Most importantly, you have to give the dog your love and care. And what do you get in return? Maybe fragrant or sweet-smelling flowers on the potted plants that bring a smile to your face. A pet dog can give you lots of happiness, love, and splendid company. The hunter-gatherers who lived in ancient times first started growing plants and rearing animals. Why did they do so? Because they got food from them. Men, women, and children began to observe plants and animals and studied them. They saw how seeds broke off stalks, fell on the ground, and sprouted new plants. Maybe they took pity on the new plants or saplings. They protected them from birds and animals and allowed them to grow. They understood that if the plants did not die early, they would grow up, bear fruits, and their seeds would ripen. Thus, people became farmers. People also started taming or domesticating animals like dog, sheep, goat, cattle, and pig. They protected these domestic animals from wild animals and gave them food and shelter. The process of growing plants and looking after animals is called domestication. Why did people select certain varieties of plants and animals for domestication? They knew that certain varieties of plants, like wheat and barley, were strong and would not easily die from diseases. They would yield or produce better crops. Similarly, our ancestors selected sheep and goat for domestication over zebra or lion because they were gentle animals and would easily obey their human masters. They would give them milk and wool. Plus, they were herbivores, so they were not dangerous to human beings. Our ancestors tamed dogs because they would be faithful and helpful companions. Thus, selecting these plants and animals for domestication needed careful study of their nature and behavior. Most domesticated plants and animals served as great stores of food. Farmers and herders can be found all over the Indian subcontinent since the prehistoric times. Archaeologists believe that farmers and herders lived in the northwest of present-day Kashmir, in the east, and in South India. Evidences such as the burnt grain and animal bones have helped archaeologists make this assumption. From excavations, archaeologists have confirmed that people grew wheat and barley in ancient Mehrgarh, which is a place in present-day Pakistan. They reared sheep, cattle, and goat. People in the Chiran region of present-day Bihar grew wheat, green gram, and barley. They reared buffalo and ox. Thus, different crops were grown in different regions depending on the climate. Some crop, like rice, requires more water, so it is grown on river banks. Similarly, certain animals like sheep and goat can survive in hilly areas, while other animals can only be reared in the plains. We have talked about how the ancient people grew and stored their food. We'll now look at their homes and their tools or instruments. Remains of houses in various parts of the Indian subcontinent tells us that houses had different structures in different regions. People in Burzahom, in present-day Kashmir, built pit houses. Pit houses were dug into the ground. Steps led into these houses. There were cooking hearths, both inside and outside the houses. They must have built these houses to protect themselves from the cold. People on the plains would not need these type of houses. So, architecture of dwellings or houses varied across the country. Stone tools transformed and became finer over the ages. In the Paleolithic or the Old Stone Age, crude or rough stone tools were used. In the Neolithic Age or New Stone Age, polished stone tools, mortars, and pestles for grinding grain could be found. People also began to store and cook food in different types of pots. Rice, wheat, and lentil became an important part of their diet when they began cooking food. People grew cotton and took up weaving around this time. People also developed different customs and practices. It is harder for archaeologists or scholars to study about these customs and practices. People of the Neolithic Age usually lived in small settlements or villages. Groups of families related to each other and living in the same village with a common leader were known as a tribe. Each tribe had a unique culture and tradition. The members of a tribe were very united and they shared a common language. They made their own tales, music, paintings, and worshipped their own gods and goddesses. Even today, there is no marked difference between the rich and the poor in a tribe. They share the available resources equally amongst themselves. The members of a tribe have occupations like hunting, gathering, farming, herding, and fishing. Men, women, and children have different work, but they contribute equally. Women and children take care of the agricultural or farming work. The men take their cattle to graze in different pastures. Both men and women make baskets, pots, tools, and huts. Let us now look at an archaeological site, Mehergarh, where communities of hunter-gatherers once settled. Mehergarh was a fertile place near the Bolan Pass in present-day Pakistan. What did archaeologists find in Mehergarh? People in the Mehergarh village had learned to grow barley and wheat. They reared sheep and goats for the first time. They lived in square or rectangular houses with many compartments. Some of the compartments were used for storage. The people in Mehergarh buried their dead. Often people were buried with goats and cattle. This meant that their friends and relatives wanted them to have food to eat when they traveled to the other world after their death. Think of how we can learn about the customs of an age by studying the skeletons in the graves. How did the archaeologists study the site of the ancient Mehergarh village? They did this by studying the layers or levels of earth at the place. Upper levels or layers of earth belong to the later ages. Lower levels or layers of earth belong to the earlier ages. In the earliest levels at Mehergarh, archaeologists have found bones of wild animals like deer and pig. In the later levels, they found bones of cattle or domestic animals. These suggest that people had started herding or rearing animals around this time. What did archaeologists find at Daujali Harding? Daujali Harding is a site on the hills near the Brahmaputra Valley. It is close to routes leading to China and Myanmar. At Daujali Harding, archaeologists found stone tools, mortars, and pestles. This suggests that people were growing grain and preparing food from grain. Tools of fossil wood, pottery, and jadeite, or a stone bought from China, have also been found at this place. This suggests that Daojali Harding had trade links with China. With that, we come to the end of our video lesson on this chapter. What occupations do we have in common today with our ancestors? Find out about these occupations and see how they have transformed over time. See you soon in our other videos.